Beloved, as we begin this morning, there is a mystery in understanding how days are shaped. Days are not controlled first by activities, they are controlled by spiritual alignments. Before your phone rings, before responsibilities speak, before circumstances make demands, there is an invitation from God to come first. Psalm 120 opens with a powerful revelation. In my distress, I cried to the Lord, and he heard me. This tells us something profound, that the safest, wisest, and most powerful way to start a day is not with confidence in self, but with dependence on God. Morning prayer is not a ritual for weak people. It is a strategy for those who understand spiritual law. You see, every day carries its own assignment, and not every assignment announces itself politely. Some days come with hidden battles, unseen pressures, and silent warfare. The psalmist teaches us that the right response is not anxiety, not complaint, not silence, but a cry to the Lord. To cry here does not mean to shout in fear. It means to deliberately redirect your soul toward God with sincerity and expectation. Many people wait until distress overwhelms them before they pray, but Psalm 120 reveals a higher wisdom: pray early before distress gains control. When you start your day in prayer, you are not reacting to trouble. You are positioning yourself above it. Morning prayer is how you declare to heaven and earth that God has the first word over your life today. And when God speaks first, every other voice must adjust. Notice something important. The psalmist says, I cried to the Lord, and he heard me. This is not hope, this is confidence. This is the assurance that God is attentive, that he is not distant, and that your voice in the morning matters to him. There is a confidence that settles in your spirit when you know you are heard. That confidence becomes strength. It becomes stability. It becomes peace. Beloved, there are burdens people wake up with that they did not go to bed with. Thoughts, emotions, fears, and pressures try to sit on your chest in the morning. But Psalm 120 reminds us that before those weights define your mood, you can lift your voice. Prayer is how you offload the soul before the day loads responsibilities onto you. When you speak to God first, you prevent the day from speaking too loudly to you. Morning prayer also recalibrates perspective. When you cry to the Lord, you are reminded that God is bigger than the schedule, bigger than the challenges, bigger than the expectations placed on you. You remember that you are not alone, not abandoned, not at the mercy of chance. You are guided, you are helped, you are kept. The psalmist does not delay distress, he acknowledges it. Faith is not pretending trouble does not exist. Faith is choosing who you talk to about it first. Many people talk to social media, to friends, to their minds, but few talk to God early. And yet, the one who controls outcomes is the one we often consult last. Psalm 120 corrects that order. When you start your morning with prayer, something happens quietly but powerfully. Your spirit takes the lead. Instead of emotions driving decisions, instead of pressure shaping reactions, the spirit begins to govern the soul and the body. This is how mature believers live. This is how peace becomes a lifestyle and not just a moment. There is also humility in crying to the Lord. It is the recognition that strength does not come from independence but from alignment. God resists pride, but he supplies grace to the humble. Morning prayer is humility in action. It is saying, Lord, I need you today. And anytime that confession is made sincerely, heaven responds. Beloved, do not underestimate what 15, 20, 30 minutes in God's presence can do for the remaining hours of your day. One prayer can save you from one mistake. One prayer can redirect one conversation. One prayer can protect you from a trap you never saw. This is why the enemy fights your prayer life in the morning. Not because prayer is loud, but because it is effective. Psalm 120 is a declaration that God is attentive to the cries of his people. When you wake up and lift your voice, you are not talking into the air. You are speaking to a God who hears, a God who responds, a God who intervenes. And when he hears you in the morning, he walks with you throughout the day. So as this day begins, make it your decision that God will not be an afterthought. Let your first words be prayer. Let your first confidence be in him. Let your first expectation be that he hears you. And because he hears you, your day is already aligned. Beloved, after we have cried to the Lord and established our dependence on him, the psalmist takes us deeper into another reality of daily living, the battle of words. In sin attacks, Psalm 120 continues with a heartfelt plea. Deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips and from a deceitful tongue. This is not a casual request. It is the cry of a man who understands that some of the most dangerous battles of life are not physical. They are verbal, emotional, and spiritual. Words have power. They shape perceptions, influence decisions, and can either build or destroy destinies. Many times, the attacks that weaken people do not come through open confrontation, but through subtle deception, misinformation, and manipulative speech. Lies do not always sound aggressive. Sometimes they sound reasonable, persuasive, even comforting. That is why the psalmist does not rely on his own discernment alone. He asks God for deliverance. Beloved, when you step into a new day, you step into conversations, environments, and systems that may not be governed by truth. Not every smile is sincere. Not every opportunity is pure. Not every voice that speaks into your life carries wisdom. Psalm 120 teaches us to begin the day by asking God to guard our souls from voices that intend harm, confusion, or distraction. This prayer is also deeply personal. Deliver my soul, the psalmist says. He understands that lies do not just attack circumstances, they attack the soul, your mind, your emotions, your will. A lie believed can do more damage than an enemy confronted. This is why morning prayer is vital. Before the world begins to speak, you ask God to filter what you hear and how you interpret it. Deception is one of the enemy's oldest strategies. It rarely announces itself. It hides in exaggeration, half-truths, and subtle compromise. Some lies come from people, others come from your own thoughts. Thoughts that say you are not enough, that today will fail, that God is distant, that nothing will change. These are also lying voices. And Psalm 120 gives you language to confront them in prayer. The psalmist goes further and asks a sobering question. What shall be given to you? Or what shall be done to you, you false tongue? This is not revenge, this is justice. It is the recognition that God is not indifferent to deception. God is a God of truth, and anything that operates in falsehood eventually faces divine judgment. When you pray this in the morning, you are not fighting people. You are placing the matter in God's hands. Beloved, there is peace that comes when you stop trying to defend yourself with words and allow God to defend you with truth. Some people exhaust themselves explaining, proving, and justifying. But Psalm 120 teaches us a higher path. Pray and let God expose what needs to be exposed. Truth does not need help. It needs time and divine backing. Morning prayer also sensitizes your spirit. When you ask God for deliverance from deceit, He sharpens your discernment. You begin to sense when something is off. You become cautious without being fearful. You become wise without being suspicious. This balance is a product of prayer, not paranoia. There are environments that thrive on manipulation, workplaces, relationships, systems driven by selfish ambition. Without prayer, people absorb the atmosphere unconsciously. But when you pray Psalm 120 in the morning, you declare that your soul will not be contaminated. You choose clarity over confusion, truth over pressure, and integrity over convenience. This prayer also humbles the heart. It acknowledges that no one is immune to deception. Intelligence alone does not protect you. Experience alone does not protect you. Only God does. And when you start your day by admitting that, you are already safer than those who rely solely on themselves. Beloved, lies lose power when exposed to light. Morning prayer invites the light of God into your mind, your decisions, and your conversations. It aligns you with heaven's perspective before earth tries to impose its own. This is how believers walk confidently without being careless. As you pray this, you are not only asking God to shield you, you are also committing yourself to truth. You are asking God to guard your own tongue, your own reactions, your own responses. Because deliverance from lying lips also includes freedom from becoming one. So, as you step into today, make this prayer your posture. Lord, guard my soul, guard my conversations. Let no lie prosper around me or within me. Let truth be my defense and peace be my reward. Beloved, as we continue this journey of morning prayer, Psalm 120 gently but firmly brings our attention inward to the words we speak and the condition of our hearts. It is one thing to ask God to deliver us from lying lips around us. It is another level of maturity to invite Him to examine what comes out of us. This is where transformation becomes personal. The tongue is small, yet it carries immense power. Words can heal or wound, open doors or shut them permanently. Many destinies have been delayed not by external opposition, but by careless speech. The psalmist's concern about deceit is not only about others speaking falsely. It is also a reminder that we must be people of truth. Morning prayer becomes the moment where we submit our mouths and our motives to God. Beloved, the heart is the source of words. If the heart is troubled, the tongue will eventually reveal it. This is why guarding the tongue without addressing the heart is ineffective. Psalm 120 teaches us to pray from the inside out. When you begin your day before God, you are not just asking for protection, you are asking for alignment. You are saying, Lord, adjust my heart so my words reflect your nature. Many people speak from emotion, from pressure, from past wounds. But prayer recenters you. It gives you the grace to pause before speaking. It teaches you restraint. And restraint is not weakness, it is strength under control. When the heart is settled in God, the tongue no longer needs to fight for validation or dominance. There is also the matter of inner dialogue. Not all words are spoken aloud. Some of the most damaging conversations happen in the mind. Accusations, regrets, fears, and assumptions play repeatedly, shaping how people see themselves and others. Morning prayer interrupts these internal narratives. It gives God permission to correct lies you may have unknowingly accepted as truth. Beloved, when you start your day in prayer, you give the Holy Spirit access to refine your thoughts. He helps you recognize when your mind is drifting toward negativity, offense, or pride. He reminds you of truth when emotions attempt to dominate. This is how believers maintain emotional stability in unstable environments. Guarding the tongue also means learning when not to speak. Silence, when led by wisdom, can be more powerful than many words. Psalm 120 shows us that not every situation requires a response. Some require prayer, some require patience, some require trust that God is working behind the scenes, even when nothing seems to change outwardly. In a world where reactions are rewarded and restraint is misunderstood, prayer teaches you to respond from the Spirit, not the flesh. It teaches you that your words should be purposeful, not impulsive. That your voice should carry peace, not pressure. This does not happen automatically. It is cultivated daily in God's presence. Beloved, alignment of the heart also deals with motives. You can say the right thing with the wrong intention. You can speak truth but be driven by pride. Morning prayer allows God to purify not just what you say, but why you say it. This is where spiritual maturity is revealed. When the heart is aligned, speech becomes a tool for blessing. Your words begin to encourage, to bring clarity, to restore hope. People may not always agree with you, but they will sense the authenticity and peace behind your voice. This is the power of a life consistently submitted to God. There is also grace in realizing that growth is a process. You may not get it right every day, but each morning you come before God, you are choosing progress over perfection. You are choosing sensitivity over stubbornness. And heaven honors that posture. Beloved, the tongue is not meant to be a weapon. It is meant to be a vessel of truth, wisdom, and life. When you surrender it to God daily, He fills it with purpose. And when the heart is clean, the words will follow. So as you step into this day, let your prayer be simple yet sincere. Lord, guard my heart and govern my words. Let what comes out of me reflect what you are doing within me. Beloved, as we continue to journey through the depth of Psalm 120, the psalmist introduces a reality that many believers feel deeply but rarely articulate: the tension of living in a world that is not at peace. He says, "Woe is me that I dwell in Meshach, that I live among the tents of Kedar." This is the language of a man who understands what it means to be surrounded by environments that do not reflect the values of his heart. It is the cry of someone who desires peace but lives in the midst of conflict. This is important because faith does not remove us from the world, it equips us to survive and thrive within it. Many people wake up each day feeling the weight of environments that are hostile to their convictions. Workplaces filled with competition, systems driven by compromise, relationships marked by misunderstanding. Psalm 120 gives language to that frustration, but it also gives direction. The psalmist does not escape these places, he prays within them. Beloved, acknowledging tension is not weakness. Pretending everything is fine when it is not only creates internal pressure. The psalmist names his reality before God. He does not spiritualize discomfort. He brings it honestly into prayer. This is maturity, knowing that God can handle your honesty and that prayer is not denial but alignment. Living among conflict can slowly shape the soul if one is not careful. Constant exposure to strife can make peace feel unnatural. It can normalize anxiety, impatience, and defensiveness. This is why morning prayer is critical. Before the environment begins to influence you, you return to God to recalibrate your spirit. The tents of Kedar were known for hostility and unrest. By referencing them, the psalmist is saying, I am not at home here. This resonates with many believers. You love God, but you operate in spaces where integrity is questioned, where values are tested, where silence is often safer than truth. Psalm 120 reassures you that God sees this tension and does not minimize it. Beloved, the danger is not being in a difficult environment. The danger is allowing that environment to live inside you. Prayer creates boundaries. It draws a line between what surrounds you and what defines you. When you pray in the morning, you remind yourself that your identity is rooted in God, not in the culture you navigate. There is also wisdom in understanding that not every battle is meant to be fought openly. Some conflicts are resolved through endurance and prayer, not confrontation. The psalmist does not lash out, he laments, and then he trusts. He chooses communion with God over conflict with people. This is not passivity, it is spiritual intelligence. Beloved, peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the presence of God within it. You can walk through tense spaces and still carry calm within your soul. That calm is not natural, it is cultivated. It comes from consistent time with God, especially in the morning when the day is still unformed. When you start your day with prayer, you are preparing your heart for the realities ahead. You are not shocked when challenges arise because you already entrusted them to God. You are not easily provoked because your spirit is anchored. This does not mean you feel nothing. It means your feelings do not control you. There is also compassion that grows in prayer. When you live among strife, it is easy to become hardened. But prayer softens the heart without weakening conviction. It allows you to see people not just as adversaries, but as individuals shaped by their own battles. This perspective protects you from bitterness. Beloved, Psalm 120 reminds us that longing for peace is godly. Wanting a different atmosphere is not rebellion, it is alignment with God's nature. But until environments change, prayer becomes your refuge. It becomes the place where you release frustration and receive strength. So as you step into spaces that may not honor your values today, remember that you do not walk alone. You carry God's presence with you. You carry peace that does not depend on agreement or comfort. Beloved, Psalm 120 reaches a powerful climax when the psalmist declares, I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. This is not a statement of weakness. It is a declaration of identity. He is saying, peace is my posture, peace is my choice, peace is my commitment, even when the environment around him refuses to agree. This is one of the highest expressions of spiritual maturity. To choose peace when conflict is available and restraint when retaliation feels justified. Choosing peace does not mean you are unaware of hostility. It means you are aware, yet governed by something higher. The psalmist understands that not every disagreement must become a battle, and not every provocation deserves a response. Morning prayer is where this decision is made daily. Before voices rise, before emotions are stirred, before misunderstandings escalate, you settle it in your heart. I am for peace. Beloved, there are people who wake up already prepared to fight. Life has conditioned them to be defensive, reactive, and suspicious. But Psalm 120 invites us into a different way of living. It teaches us that peace is not something you negotiate later. It is something you carry deliberately. And you cannot carry peace accidentally. It must be chosen, nurtured, and protected. There is a cost to choosing peace. Sometimes peace costs you the satisfaction of proving a point. Sometimes it costs you the opportunity to defend your ego. Sometimes it costs you silence when you feel misunderstood. But the reward is inner stability. The reward is spiritual authority. The reward is a heart that remains light even when circumstances are heavy. Beloved, when the psalmist says, when I speak, they are for war, he reveals a painful reality. Peaceful intentions are not always received peacefully. You can speak with sincerity and still be met with resistance. You can act with integrity and still be misinterpreted. This is where many people become discouraged. But Psalm 120 reminds us that your responsibility is not how others respond. It is how you remain aligned. Morning prayer strengthens this alignment. It prepares you for the possibility that peace may not be reciprocated. It teaches you not to measure your obedience by outcomes, but by faithfulness. When you pray before the day begins, you are asking God for the grace to remain calm when others are aggressive, to remain gentle when others are harsh, to remain wise when others are impulsive. Choosing peace is also a spiritual weapon. It disarms the enemy's strategy of chaos. The enemy thrives in confusion, reaction, and division. When you choose peace, you deny him access. You refuse to be drawn into unnecessary battles that drain your strength and distract your focus. This is not avoidance, it is discernment. Beloved, peace begins internally. You cannot offer peace externally if your heart is restless. This is why prayer is essential. In prayer, God quiets your soul. He reminds you that you are safe, guided, and defended. From that place of assurance, you can interact with others without fear or insecurity. There is also courage in peace. It takes courage to remain composed when provoked. It takes courage to respond softly when anger is expected. It takes courage to walk away from conflict without feeling defeated. This courage does not come from personality, it comes from intimacy with God. Psalm 120 teaches us that being for peace does not make you passive. It makes you principled. You know what you stand for, and you refuse to compromise your values for temporary satisfaction. You choose long-term peace over short-term victory, and heaven honors that choice. Beloved, as you step into this day, you will encounter moments where tension tries to pull you into conflict. Remember that peace is your inheritance. You do not have to fight every battle to win. Some battles are won by refusing to fight them at all. Let your prayer this morning be simple: Lord, anchor my heart in peace. Help me speak with wisdom, respond with grace, and walk away where necessary. Let my life reflect your calm even in the midst of noise.